Hey ladies and gents, sorry that I am a little late today. Was trying to fix the music issue and had to restart the computer and it's still not working. I downloaded everything I need to and it still doesn't want to work. So we're having a day. Anywho, welcome to August and our first August Pillow Talk. I'm working on camera angles today. We will see. Once again, I'm at home like I do on Wednesdays. I did have a kitty cat here for a little bit, and then she decided that she would rather go watch the birds. So there was that. Today we're going to talk about James 3. I will admit I didn't do as much prep as I did last week. I got distracted. Yeah, it's been a day. So I didn't do as much prep. I did definitely read through it ahead of time. Yes, Wally, I am at home. I do Pillow Talk from home. And yes, Solomon, all hail Kara, because if we don't, she will attack us in our sleep. She was very vicious with her yelling this morning. I was not getting up fast enough for her. So every time I moved in the slightest, she would scream. It was great. And she was like right beside my ear. So it was great. I stream from home when we're doing Pillow Talk. It's a little easier for me. I'm local to the office, but sometimes you just want to be home, you know? And today is one of those days. I don't know what's going on with the weather, but whatever it is, pressures are rising and falling very rapidly because I feel it in my back today. Whew. Yes, as Solomon said, next week starts our camp. We have our Game Master camp next week. I'm definitely going to be there. I think we have a good coffee fund now. Solomon definitely helped boost our coffee fund for next week because we're going to need it. It'll be Mike and I running the camp for the Game Masters. I'll be honest, I'm not a big D&D person myself. I've played in the past. I've got a few characters. I've got my own dice. But I more enjoyed creating the character and the story behind it, as Wally knows, because we are working on a backstory for one of his characters. So I'm having fun with that, letting the ideas flow. I'm tapping back into my creativity this year. That is something that my therapist and I have been working on. So tapping into the creativity and letting it flow, not going, this probably won't work or whatever, just going, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's been fun, working on baking and painting, and it's slightly embarrassing, okay? It is slightly embarrassing. I don't do a lot of, treating myself. I consider treating myself more or less, getting more Tylenol and Advil. That is my idea of treating myself. So, I got lucky when I got on disability. They gave me some back pay, and I put it away in savings. And the only thing I bought for myself was the new Destiny expansion. And I use that with you guys. So I don't really think of that, as my thing. So I had a thought, because I go to a pain clinic in Kingston a couple times a month. It's a bit of a long drive, and the appointments are hard. It's a hard couple days after these appointments. I've got some next week, which is why we don't have Pillow Talk next week. And to explain what they do without going too much into detail, I am going to have very large needles go into my neck, right into my spine, to help out with some issues in there. So it hurts for a good few days, and I'm tired, and I just feel gross, and every so often I go there for infusions too. So I had an idea. When the Switch first came out, I was like, this looks stupid, I don't like the controllers, all of that. But I had a thought a couple weeks ago. I was like, what if I got a Switch? Because then I can game on my way to these appointments. I can spend time gaming for the 2 hours when I'm getting infusions. And the days that like I'm stuck in bed, I can still kind of game. So we thought about getting a Switch. And then I went into our local used game store, Chumley's. Highly recommend them. I cannot plug them enough. I know the owner pretty well, and I was talking to him about some stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about, maybe getting a Switch, just like one of the light ones I can take with me. And so Derek goes, oh, we've got a few in the case right now. So he takes me over to the case, and my favorite color is teal, okay? My favorite color is teal. And out of the case comes that, for about half the price that it is in stores. So I went, you know what, I'll get it for myself. And yesterday in therapy, I was telling my therapist, I feel like maybe I made a mistake. Like, it was only like $150, but like, did I make a mistake? And she went, Lori, you almost never treat yourself. This is worthy of treating yourself. So I'm not feeling guilty, but I'm expressing my creativity in Animal Crossing. That is the only game I have on there. I have Animal Crossing on there, and I eventually have the dream to put Dreamlight Valley on there, so I can play that with my Switch as well. So I'm expressing my creativity in new ways. I am allowing myself to treat myself in ways. We talked last week about faith and works, and the two of them working together, right? Like they can't be separate. It's like gas in your engine. Your car's not going to run on just gas. Your car's not going to run with just your engine. They have to work together, just like faith and works. And so I was telling my therapist this is what we had talked about, and she said to me, we've been working on you believing that you're worth these little things, but I don't think you've done a lot to show that you actually believe it. And I sat there and I went, dang, she's calling me out. I'm going to have to practice what I'm preaching here. Goodness gracious. So I'm letting myself have this switch. I'm letting myself enjoy it and have fun with the smaller games that, people write off. Like, I'm not a Disney adult. I'm not the kind of adult that's like, oh, the newest Disney stuff. But I like Dreamlight Valley because it's chill, it's laid back. And the overarching theme is learning to love and forgive yourself. I've thought about doing a stream with it, but I've pretty much beat the game on my Xbox. So we wouldn't get to go through any of it. But I'm learning from these games that it's okay to express myself these ways. That it is okay for me to enjoy myself and have fun with things that, other people might think are childish or dumb. And I am learning to practice what I preach. So if I have faith that He made me and that I am perfect and I am loved and I am worth the sacrifice that Christ did on the cross, then I really should be living it. I should believe in myself more. I should believe that I am worth that. I need to put my works where my faith is. And this week in James 3, we are looking at our speech. So it's rather interesting. And thank you, Solomon. I'm working very hard to keep my eyes up. I don't want to say things are horrible, medically speaking, because they're not. I've definitely been in worse spots. But there are a few things going on right now that they've shaken me a little bit. I'll just be honest with you guys. Part of Pillow Talk is me being honest, being vulnerable with you guys, because how am I going to expect you guys to connect with me and get to know me if I'm not willing to share who I am? Some of it's embarrassing, some of it's ridiculous. But y'all know me at this point. I'm learning to not care. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, we're gonna dive into James 3 today. I am going to read it from the Message version instead of the NIV. And I know I might get people going, oh, the Message version, that's the one that's got the recipe for Rice Krispie treats in there, as Christian comedian Tim Hawkins says. If you don't know who he is, you should look up his videos. He's hilarious. I'm going to read from the Message version because when I read through it this morning, as soon as I woke up, that was the first thing I did. Just the way it held nothing back. It was hard-hitting, but it was also easy to understand what they were saying. It didn't feel like it was watered down. It was hard-hitting, but in a good way. So we're gonna read it from the Message version. And yes, Solomon, Rice Krispies. I want to make them again. I haven't made them since I was working in commercial kitchens, and we'd make like huge batches, and I was like, never again. But I want to start making them again. And I will be honest, I had a talk with our dear Tom yesterday. And once again, I am being pushed to do a cooking, baking live stream. So, I will be honest, and I will tell you guys that I spent yesterday working on logos and working on my streaming material for what we are going to be calling Fire Team Cookin'. I've got a Destiny cookbook, I've got a Minecraft cookbook, I've got a Universal Parks cookbook, and we're gonna bake together, we're gonna cook together. And I thought maybe, I would make videos of this stuff and then polish it and send it out to you guys, but I have heard an overwhelming response from you guys that you want to see it live. So, we will do it live. And maybe sometimes I'm going to be doing some of my own recipes that I've Frankenstein together. Maybe it'll be cookbook stuff, maybe it'll be stuff that you guys just want to see made. So it is in the works, I promise you. And come the fall, it'll probably be once a month. But we'll see. I'm pretty sure we can do this. As long as I get permission from Ricky Ann to come in on a weekend and semi-destroy the kitchen. We will, believe me, nuggets will appear, Tom will appear at points, we might even have Hoff. I'm gonna need people to test my baked goods. Maybe I'll get guest appearances from some of you guys if you're local and wanna hop in and help. Yeah. So, we're gonna dive into the Bible. We're gonna dive into James chapter 3, ladies and gents. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1. I'm going through the Bible song in my head again, guys. I am so sorry. Hebrews and James, now only 7 more remain. A duck egg for Tom. Well, see, Tom was saying this to me yesterday as he was getting some of the leftover cupcakes. So he was like, oh, you should do a baking stream. Because I said, I could make things out of what was in the kitchen. Because the kitchen at headquarters is stocked with some really random things. There's some really random stuff in those cupboards. And I was looking through going, I could probably make some very interesting food out of this. And Tom looks at me and goes, you need to do a cooking stream. And I'm like, well, would I just do videos? And he's like, no, you need to live stream. I have fun in the kitchen. You can ask Hoff. And when he wants me to bake for him, I tell him he has to help or he's not getting it. Because I bake for myself, not when I'm told to. Anywho, we are getting into James 3. And my knee just hit the desk, because why the heck not? So, the title for this chapter in the Message version says, when you open your mouth. Ouch. It feels like, the insult about, opening your mouth and watch what you say and blah, 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 blah. A wise man keeps his mouth shut, a fool opens it. Thank you guys for making sure I'm taking care of myself. So, let's dive in. We only have 18 verses. That's pretty small. That is pretty small. And yeah, Solomon, last week I went on tangents. This week I will likely go on tangents again, probably not to the same strength, because chapter 2 is my favorite out of the book of James. It is my go-to. It is my Bible love, if you will. But chapter 3 is incredibly important. And I've talked before about how important context is when we're studying the Bible, when we're looking at it. So I'm going to call back to some of chapter 2 and maybe even some of chapter 1, because it's easier to understand when, as my professor used to say, you have enough context to cross the cultural bridge. You have the context to understand, and it's not just like, oh, I see this at face value. It's like, no, I can genuinely see this. So that's what we're working on. Yes, Wally, like that. Keep your forked tongue in your teeth, Gandalf. Like, just seeing when you open your mouth, I'm like, ooh, this is gonna hurt. Like, this chapter is going to hurt, and it does. Does it ever? So, chapter 3. Don't be in any rush to become a teacher. Teaching is highly responsible work. Teachers are held to the strictest standards, and none of us is perfectly qualified. We get it wrong nearly every time we open our mouths. If you could find someone whose speech was perfectly true, you'd have a perfect person in perfect control of life. We know that perfection doesn't exist anymore. There was perfection in the Garden of Eden. We screwed that up. Perfection does not exist. It is something we strive towards. It is something that media tries to make us think is attainable, but it's not. So, I know we've got the guys on here, so it might be a little harder for them to quite understand, but when the Kardashians rose to their fame, they changed body standards for women, and they continue to change. And that's fine. Standards change throughout time, right? Like, it used to be women couldn't wear pants, it had to be skirts, and, you know, the whole big thing. But the standards that they are setting are completely unobtainable, and there's a big thing going on right now. The Kardashians have always said that their beauty is completely attainable, that they have done it themselves. It is their diet, their exercise, their routines. It is perfectly attainable if you do what they do. But a lot of that's a lie. A lot of it is surgeries. A lot of it is ridiculously expensive treatments every single day that, like, no one could ever afford to do. And so there's a big thing, especially like among women, going on right now, where it's like, this is completely unobtainable, and they don't understand the damage that they are doing to the younger generations, because we have created this image of perfection. If you want to look at it from a guy's perspective, let's talk about the way Marvel movies make guys look. The way Marvel movies have made Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Robert Downey Jr. Like, do you want to talk about all the shirtless scenes Chris Hemsworth had to do? Like, do we want to talk about all of the shirtless aspects in both Marvel and DC? Because we can talk about what used to be called the Bat Butt with Ben Affleck in Batman vs. Superman in the shower. It was a special extended scene. You got to see his butt. Everybody thought it was a big deal. But I know guys that this has seriously impacted the way that they believe in themselves. Oh, I don't look like that. I don't have muscles like that. It's a big deal. Society has created this perfection standard that we believe that we have to attain. That this is what we need to be perfect. This is what we need to be liked. This is what we need to be accepted. But that perfection doesn't exist. Like, Chris Hemsworth has done so many interviews about what is required for him to look like that in those scenes. To starve himself. To dehydrate himself almost to the point he needs to be in the hospital. Like, it's not attainable and it's not realistic. But society and pop culture have led us to believe that it's the standard. We have this idea that perfection is possible, but it's not. It's just not outside of Christ. It's just not. So when James is saying here, if you found someone whose speech was perfectly true, you'd have a perfect person in perfect control of life. This is James going, it's not possible to have perfect speech. It's as possible to have perfect speech as it is for someone to have a perfect life and have control over their life. We don't have control over our lives. If I had control over my life, I would not deal with pain. I would not have to take as many medications as I do. And if I had control over my life, I would give myself like the telekinetic superpowers so I could bring myself snacks and cook without actually having to get up off the couch. Like, James is telling us it's not possible to be perfect, which is incredibly important. And he's also saying here, teachers are held to the strictest standards. So what they are saying, it's more talking about biblical teachers. So I grew up as a pastor's kid, all right? And I lived in the church. The church was my second home. But part of being a pastor's kid was my entire life was scrutinized. Every little thing, the whole church would know, the whole church would talk about it. I wasn't allowed to miss church, even if I was throwing up, because of the image. We had to be the perfect, happy family. Everything had to be fine. Like, it was a big deal. So embarrassing. It was a huge deal for me to see my first PG-13 movie. I was in high school at that point in time. I was well beyond 13. And I was going to go see Transformers 3, Dark Side of the Moon. And it took about a month and a half of working with my parents before they agreed to let me go see it. And let me tell you, I was beyond 13 at that point. It was a huge, huge deal, because who might see the pastor's daughter coming out of a PG-13 movie? How dare she? When we went to church, never jeans, never like anything with rips. For the longest time it had to be skirts and dresses, and then when I got into high school, eventually it was just dress pants. When I was in university, I felt so rebellious. We were required to go to church on Sunday, whether at home or around campus. I felt like the biggest amount of revenge because I wore ripped jeans and I sat in the back row of the church. I was never allowed to sit beyond the third pew. It was a huge deal. But I was sitting in the back and I was wearing jeans, and I felt like it was the biggest rebellion of my life. Because I had waffles. Because I was finally doing what I wanted. So when James is talking about teachers, he's talking about the fact that they are held to a different standard. That every little word, every little action is monitored, is watched. You're more likely to be called out, but you're also more likely to be put on a pedestal and expected to be perfect. I remember I was dating this one guy, and I brought him to church with me, and it was great. We went out to lunch afterwards, whatever, and then a couple weeks later he came to church with me again. And after the service, I had an elderly lady from the congregation come up to me, and she goes, "I did not like that last guy you were with at all, but this one seems really good." She was referring to the guy who was there 2 weeks ago, which was the same guy. Like, everything was scrutinized to like the tiniest level. You're held to a different standard. Yeah, Solomon. Yeah, embrace nonconformity. My first job in youth ministry, I felt a push that I had to, have that perfect life. be that perfect person. But I had always told my students I was not perfect, and I wasn't going to pretend to be. I was going to be honest with them. I was going to be transparent with them, because how can I expect them to do the same for me if I'm not doing it for them? And it did not go over well, because I was willing to say that, like, you know, I got a really bad ulcer. And so there were a few things and events that I had to excuse myself from because of the ulcer or whatever. And I would say, like, I was sick or not feeling well. And I had a board member come tell me that I should just say that I can't make it, that I don't need to tell them that I'm sick. And I'm like, well, a lot of the time they're asking why I can't. I'm not going to say it's no big deal. I'm going to be honest. In those leadership positions, there is almost this expectation that you have to be a certain way, that you have to act a certain way, that you have to do certain things. And that's why James is warning people. He's like, when you're in this position, you are held to a much higher standard. I mean, it seems super cool, right? Like, what Mike gets to do seems awesome. What our senior pastors get to do seems cool. Like, you want to be, most people anyway, most people want to be on the worship team, or, you know, want to be involved in some aspect of the ministry, do kids ministry, any of that, but they don't realize what goes on behind the curtains. They don't realize that most of it is a show, is an act. We talked a little bit on Monday. I had a pause because I had to go through my vault in Destiny, and I asked you guys to ask me some questions, and I got some hard-hitting questions about what the church should look like and what worship should look like. And I said one of my biggest problems is when I go to a church and it feels like a production instead of honesty. Because that's not what he wants. That is not what he wants at all. I remember watching a movie with my dad. It was called Facing the Giants. If you haven't seen that one, it's a really good one. And there was this kid wanting to join the football team. And so he was going to be a kicker. And the coach told him, I don't care if that ball is perfect. I don't care if it looks like a flying, dying duck. As long as it gets through, I forget the name of the thingy, but you know, the big, as long as it gets through the goalpost or whatever it is, that's what matters. And that really stuck with me. It's not how you get to that point, it's if you get there that matters, right? So in my mind, it's Bible says make a joyful noise. It doesn't say you have to be perfect pitch. You have to be able to harmonize and do the melody and do all these other things. It says make a joyful noise. So I kind of adopted with my students, we would do worship every so often. I didn't have a worship team. We were a small church, so I put on videos. And I had some people say to me, like, I can't really sing. Like, I feel awkward. I feel like people are going to judge me. And so I told them, I was like, I don't care if it sounds like a dying duck. He just wants a joyful noise. If you're being joyful, if your heart is in it, he doesn't care what it sounds like. It's like the first time you hear a little child sing. My niece loves to sing to herself before she falls asleep. It is the cutest thing ever. She'll be laying in bed and then she'll just start singing a random song with made up words, just singing to herself before she falls asleep. She's joyful. She's happy. That's one of her favorite things about going to church, is to getting to sing, even if she doesn't know the words. Her heart is in it. She knows what she's doing, even if she doesn't really know what she's doing. That's what he wants from us. He wants us to make that joyful noise. He doesn't care what it sounds like. If your heart is in it, the end product shouldn't matter. If my heart is in, making Tom's cupcakes and they didn't turn out the way that I wanted, I did my best. Everybody else loved them. Maybe they look like a dying duck to me, but everybody else still loved them. It's where my heart is that matters. And that's what he's talking about here. Because that's what should matter. So verses 3 to 5. Told you I'd go on tangents. A bit in the mouth of a horse controls the whole horse. A small rudder on a huge ship in the hands of a skilled captain sets a course in the face of the strongest winds. A word out of your mouth may seem of no account, but it can accomplish nearly anything or destroy it. It only takes a spark, remember, to set off a forest fire. A careless or wrongly placed word out of your mouth can do that. By our speech, we can ruin the world, turn harmony into chaos, throw mud on a reputation, send the whole world up in smoke, and go up in smoke with it. Smoke right from the pit of hell. So, there's a little story to tell you. It's not mine. I found it on Reddit. I found it last night, actually. A father was posting, it was on the Am I the A-hole page, because sometimes I enjoy that page. He wanted to know if he was wrong in this situation. So he had posted that his oldest daughter, was home from university for the summer. She was living with them. And she's probably around 20 or something, and her younger sister is like right at the end of high school. So 2 girls, very happily married couple, great family, all of that. And the parents, like my parents, aren't afraid to talk about, their relationship, how it started, where it came from. I've heard the story of my parents meeting a million times. My dad annoyed the heck out of my mom. He really liked her from the get-go. She hated his guts. But he kind of wore her down over the course of a few years. But anywho, in this story, it came up one night at dinner that, just like the story of how mom and dad met. So the dad is telling the story once again. Like back when they were children, which would have been early 80s, they were at this camp. His family had a trailer at the same camp every summer. And it was a bunch of like kids that would just hang out and do things. He's like, this is when we all played outside. There were no cell phones. There weren't really any consoles, any of that. We were just outside all day. And he says one summer, a family with a moving trailer that they would take from place to place came for the summer. He was about 16, and that was the first time he met his would-be wife. She was 12. They spent the whole summer together in their group of friends. Everything was great. Near the end of the summer, she confessed she had a crush on him, and he turned her down extremely gently, going like, we live super far away from each other. I feel kind of awkward with the age difference. I think it would just be better if we're friends. And she took it really well. Things were good. And then, life goes on. Her family never came back to the trailer park. And he's like, this is like, we didn't have phone numbers to look up, any of that. So then probably, I think it was about 5 years later, he's in university. He's living and working in a different city. And he's at a coffee shop. And a beautiful woman walks in who just so happens to be the same girl from that summer camp. They start dating almost immediately. They fall in love. They get married. They have a family. And like that is how they met. They met when they were kids. And then like years later, they met and reconnected again. Had to have been more than 5 years because she was about 20. So like almost a decade, okay? It was almost a decade. They met later. Well, his daughter is saying that he groomed his mother because they met when they were 16 and 12. She is saying that their story is despicable and that he should just admit what he did to their mother. So he reached out to the Reddit community to go, I don't think I groomed her, but I need other people's opinions. And what blew up in the chat was people going, where did she learn the term grooming? Because that's not what this means. That's not what this is. And so people in the chat started talking about how she needs to know what the word actually means, because this could do serious damage to people's lives. Just like when James is talking about, it only takes a spark to set off a forest fire. Careless or wrongly placed word out of your mouth can do that. By our speech, we can ruin the world, turn harmony into chaos, throw mud on a reputation. A careless word. She probably found it on TikTok, didn't really know the meaning of it. There's a lot of misinformation on social media. There was a trend still going on, honestly, where people are self-diagnosing with ADD or ADHD. And there was actually a trend a couple years ago where people were self-diagnosing themselves with my genetic condition, which irritated me, but also I found it hilarious, because if somebody genuinely wants to have what I have, I'll give it to them. They can take it. Like, I can't see why someone would want to have my condition. And this girl had no idea what she was saying. Our society misuses words all the time, just for poop and giggles, to cause a stir. And look what that does. Look how that divides it. Like, this daughter's careless word could ruin her father's reputation, absolutely destroy it. And she just threw it around like it was nothing. The misinformation can destroy. Our words have serious power. Like, we could talk about the Me Too movement, which, as someone who has been sexually assaulted, like, that was incredibly powerful for me, and it gave me courage to stand up and press charges. But there were people who started accusing others of sexual misconduct and destroying their lives just for fun. They were spreading these lies that destroyed people's lives, destroyed people's reputations, without a second thought of the damage it was doing. James is warning us here how powerful our words are. Like, words are incredible power. Look what the words of God do. He said, "Let there be light." There it was. He said, "Let there be land," and there it was. "Let there be humans," and boom, there we were. His words had serious power. We're created in his image. Our words have power too. Not quite to the same extent, because, then I would be like, give me a coffee, poof, it'd be there. Or give me $1 million. But our words do genuinely have power. For me to say to someone who's going through a really rough time, "I'm here if you need me, and I'm praying for you," that has power. Like, oh my word, the number of times that someone has reached out when things are not going well and told me that they're thinking about me, that they care about me, makes a huge difference when you're just feeling down in the dumps and like nothing matters. Our words have serious power, and a lot of times we abuse it. We don't even think about it. It is absolutely insane the amount of power our words have. Just quote Uncle Ben, "With great power comes great responsibility." Our words have power, but what are we doing with that power? Okay, verses 7 through 10. This is scary. You can tame a tiger, but you can't tame a tongue. It's never been done. The tongue runs wild, a wanton killer. With our tongues we bless God our Father. With the same tongues we curse the very men and women he made in his image. Curses and blessings out of the same mouth. My friends, this cannot go on. A spring doesn't gush fresh water one day and brackish the next, does it? Apple trees don't bear strawberries, do they? Raspberry bushes don't bear apples, do they? You're not going to dip into a polluted mud hole and get a cup of clear, cool water, are you? That's hard. That's hard. But he's right. It can't go on. You can't be speaking curses and blessings out of the same mouth. You can't keep abusing your power because you're angry or you're tired or you just don't like someone. We have serious power here. Like one little word can make a huge difference. And yet oftentimes we abuse that power. And I mean, I do it too. The other day when I was driving home from the office, I got stuck behind a car that was going far too slow under the speed limit. And I cussed him out in my car. Nobody else heard it. But I said it. And at the end of the day, it cost me maybe 2 minutes before getting home. Didn't cost me much more than that. But I spoke curses out of my mouth, then came home and prayed blessings over my dinner. That's not what we're supposed to do. It can't continue that way. I mean, Megamind wanted power. And when he came to power, he abused that power. Like we've talked about how power corrupts. Well, you have power with your tongue the same way. But you can change. You can grow. You can adapt. You can transform. Because that's what we're called to do. This isn't a one and done thing. You have to continually keep working on your faith. Continually growing, continually getting closer to Him. You can't just have faith, you have to have the acts. You have to walk what you believe, but you have to also walk the talk. Okay? So this next part here fully pulls back to chapter 2, okay? 13 through 18. Do you want to be counted wise to build a reputation for wisdom? Here's what you do. Live well, live wisely, live humbly. It's the way you live, not the way you talk, that counts. What James is talking about here when he says it's the way you live, he's talking about the way we walk. Because you have to have your faith and your actions. It becomes one because they have to be the same. So therefore, your words have to line up with your talk, your walk. Your words have to line up with your faith. It all has to come together as one for you to be counted as wise, for you to have a good reputation. It all has to be the same. You have to walk with your talk, what you're talking. So if I say, I'm going to make dinner tonight, and then I don't do it, and my parents or whoever goes, hey, you said you were going to make dinner and you didn't do it. It's like, yeah, I didn't feel like it. Well, that sucks for them because now they're home expecting dinner and there's no dinner. Like, it messes with them. It hurts them because I decided not to walk when I talk. See what I'm saying here? It's got to all work together. It's got to work together because that is the only way you see fruit on the vine, all right? That is the way that you see fruit from someone's relationship with Christ. If they are walking what they're talking, if they are walking in line with their faith, that is when you see fruit in someone else's life. That is how you know that they're truly walking with Him. And that is what is the most important. That's the only way this works. You have to have those things line up. Yes, Solomon, fruit. Fun little side fact, though. When it talks about, oh my word, where exactly was it? Yes, apple trees don't bear strawberries, raspberry bushes don't bear apples. Slightly funny story. So we have a raspberry bush in the backyard. My sister loves it. When my niece comes over, she runs into the backyard to get raspberries because she wants to eat all of Papa's raspberries. Like, as soon as my dad comes home, I ate all your raspberries, Papa. And, he fakes that he's upset. So my sister was like, you know what, I'm going to get a raspberry bush for my backyard. So last year, my dad takes her to where they got theirs, and they bought her a raspberry bush as a home warming gift or whatever. Well, this year, it started growing fruit. And what is growing on this raspberry bush except not raspberries? It's blackberries. Blackberries are growing on what they thought was a raspberry bush. It's a blackberry bush. So the tag on it said that it was raspberries. The talk was there, but the actions didn't line up. This raspberry bush was like, I ain't no raspberry, I'm a blackberry. Tricked you. My sister's actually kind of upset. And my niece won't touch the blackberries. So she doesn't know what to do with them. But it's what James is saying here. You don't expect an apple tree to grow something other than apples. Like, and when, if I'm a bush and I say that, I'm a raspberry bush, I shouldn't be a blackberry bush. My walk should line up with my talk. And your faith has to line up with your walk. So it all comes back together. In the end, it's one thing. It's not several. And you have to make sure that there is harmony in between all of it. They all have to line up. Otherwise, this just doesn't work. Oh. Mean-spirited ambition isn't wisdom. Boasting that you are wise isn't wisdom. Twisting the truth to make yourselves sound wise isn't wisdom. It's the furthest thing from wisdom. It's animal cunning, devilish conniving. Whenever you're trying to look better than others or get the better of others, things fall apart and everyone ends up at each other's throat. It's not a competition about who's the wisest, who's the smartest, who has the most answers. Because none of us would ever win. It's obviously going to be God who's the smartest, God who's the wisest, God who has all the answers. So trying to rank ourselves, who is the next smartest, who is the next wisest, who has most of the answers other than God, it just sets us up for failure, and it puts everybody at each other's throats. It creates a divide. It creates this I'm holier than thou vibe, which that's not what he created us for. That's not what he wants. And yet we get so caught up in what we want and in the power that we want that we forget what we're here for. We're here to glorify him and love on the people around us that he put here. That is what we're supposed to be doing, not categorizing ourselves amongst made up categories that don't matter. Like, if you look at, especially in pop culture, when it comes to awards season, how many times have we seen it where someone has won an award and then instantly online that person is being bashed because they didn't deserve it as much as someone else? How quickly it gets toxic because we just need to be seen as better. But that's not what this is supposed to be about. That's not what our walk with him is supposed to be about. It's about our relationship with him, guys. That is what's important. Do we believe what he has taught us? Do we walk that belief? Do we live that belief? And do we preach that belief? Are my words actually of love, or are they of hate? Is my life of love or of hate? Because if I believe that God wants me to love on the people around me, and all I do is tear them down and attack them, I might as well not believe that He wants me to love them, because I'm not living it, not talking it. It's like, yeah, this is what I believe, but I'm going to be over here. It's like, no, this all has to line up for it to work. Otherwise, it just doesn't matter. Like I talked about last week, that this isn't a college syllabus, where the faith is, worth 50% of the equation here. No, this is a pass-fail course. Either you get it or you don't. And so many of us just don't. And we act surprised when we get that failing grade. Meanwhile, have we done anything? Have we actually done anything? Verses 17 and 18. Real wisdom, God's wisdom, begins with a holy life and is characterized by getting along with others. It is gentle and reasonable, overflowing with mercy and blessings. Not hot one day and cold the next, not two-faced. You can develop a healthy, robust community that lives right with God and enjoys its results only if you do the hard work of getting along with each other, treating each other with dignity and honor. It is gentle and reasonable, overflowing with mercy and blessings. Last week we talked about how important it was to show mercy for the poor man, but also for the rich man. That there are no classes and tiers of humanity, that we're all the same. And James is saying the only way for us to do this right is to live it. The only way for us to do this right is to be gentle and reasonable, to love the people around us. Not be two-faced. Be full of love and mercy and forgiveness. Because we're going to mess up. We're not perfect. He is. But we're not, and we can't be. We lost our chance at perfection when we messed up in the garden. And it's easy to say, if I was in the garden, I wouldn't have made that choice. But do you know that for sure? Do you know that for sure? Solomon says, I don't know if I can forgive the French. Well, that's between you, the French, and God, okay? It is so easy to hold on to hate. But at the end of the day, the only person that is hurt by that hate is you for holding on to it. The only person that gets burned by the fire of that hatred is you, because you're holding on to it. You gotta let it go. You gotta let go of that hate. You gotta let go of that pain. And it sounds easy to say it. It's a lot harder than it sounds or seems. Something I'm working on. There are some people who have really, really hurt me. And I've been working on some of this stuff for years to try and love those people despite what they said or what they did. It's hard. It is hard to live a godly life. It is hard to live the way He wants us to. But is anything easy really worth doing? It was hard to get my degree, but I'd say it was worth it because I learned about myself. I learned about, the developing brain of a teenager as they're going through school. We had this course that I called Sex Ed on Steroids because I learned way too much about teenagers and their bodies. But as much as there were days I absolutely hated having to do the papers, having to do the courses, as much as there were days that I was just tired and exhausted, that degree was worth it. It was worth every tear. It was worth every frustrated all-nighter to work on papers. It was worth every moment of anguish looking at my grades and wondering if I was going to make it. That degree was worth every moment. And it was one of the hardest things I've done. If walking with God and living that godly life was easy, I don't think it would be as worthwhile. I don't think it would be as much of a challenge. Thank you, Solomon. I will definitely do that. You guys always taking care of me. I love that little cat one. That is so cute. I always love it. He has challenged us. He has left some big shoes. And he's not telling us to fill those shoes. He's telling us to walk in the footprints that have been left by them. I mean, there were times he was barefoot, so it might be hard to fill shoes that don't exist. Which, someone on the spectrum who can't have bare feet and has to have her feet covered with socks at all times, the idea of having sandals and the sand getting in your feet is just ugh, no thank you. But he left those tracks for us to walk in. And he didn't just leave footprints and go this way. No. He left us an instruction manual. And I mean, I know it's easy to go oh, this is the ownership manual for my new car, whatever, toss it to the side. It's no. There's some really good stuff in here, guys. Really good stuff. I could probably go on forever about some of the amazing stuff that's in here. If you haven't read the Bible cover to cover, I highly recommend it. I know it seems like a huge ordeal. It's not a thin book. It's not. I know it seems like a lot, but there are studies that can help you go through parts of it or all of it. And I guarantee you, if you have questions about what you're reading or about what you're seeing when you're going through this Bible, if you reach out to Mike, if you reach out to me, if you reach out to Nuggets, if we don't know the answer, we will help you find it. Because we want you guys to go through this. We want you guys to learn it and live it, and we want to help you guys through it. It's hard to be a teacher. But it's worthwhile. Because I love you guys. I really do. I love being able to do this again. I love that I can jump into a ministry that my body can still physically handle. And I mean, as someone who's losing a lot of things that they're able to do, it makes me so happy to know that even on bad days, I can still do this with you guys. Even on bad days, I can still chill on the couch and be there on Discord while I'm gaming. We are a family, or as I call us, a clanmily. And we look out for each other. We help each other. If you fall, we might laugh a little bit, but we will help you back up. We'll make sure you're okay. But you gotta let us know, because you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. You've got him, and you've got us. Because we love you guys. If we didn't love you, do you think we would still, be here doing things? Do you think we would still have these programs? Do you think we would be making more programs if we didn't love you guys, care about you, about where you are, about what you're doing, about where you're going? It is a hard walk, okay? It is not easy. It is not easy at all. Paul says that this is a race that we must continue running. And I mean, I hate running. Absolutely hate it. I somehow, in high school, ended up scoring high enough in track and field. They had me do sprints. I thought I was gonna die. I hate running. Hate it with every fiber of my being. If it was up to me running away or getting eaten by a bear, I would just get eaten by the bear. Okay? I hate running that much. My body just hates it so much afterwards, I might as well just get eaten by a bear. Okay? But if we're using this terminology of a race, we've got water stations for you. We're running alongside with you. We've created a fun playlist for you to listen to while you go. Speaking of playlists, I actually, I have Apple Music. I know I'm gonna get booze, but I have created a playlist of uplifting, fun music to game to. I created this playlist over a year ago, and I've been adding to it and just adding more songs and everything. If you guys want this playlist, I can share the link with you. Like I said, it's Apple Music. If someone has, the time, they could put it on Spotify as well, or the tools, because no idea how to do that. But I do have a playlist that can help. And if you want worship playlists or I feel lousy today playlists, I've got so many playlists on my phone, it's ridiculous, okay? So many, it's ridiculous. We're walking this together, okay? So maybe some of us are running, because Hoff did track and field and he loved it, so he can run. I'm gonna walk. And if you guys wanna walk with me, we can do that. We've got people here as our family to help each other walk through this, because Christ was perfect. We are not. We are going to slip up. But as the body of Christ, we're supposed to help each other up when we fall. We're supposed to love on each other, encourage each other, and help each other through all of it. Because we have Him and we have us as a body of Christ. As someone who, for most of their life, was an outsider, was that person on the back wall at the church, I know what it's like to not be part of the crew, right? To not be part of the body that everyone else is. I know what it's like to be different and have nobody else understand. That's why it is so important to me that graphic word feels inclusive. That at the end of the day, we're crazy nerds, but we're gonna love on you and support you through whatever you're going through. You guys wanna watch me freak out and do crazy things while I'm being chased in Destiny 1 and can't cast a healing circle? Sure. You want to watch Nuggets play more anxiety-inducing games come the fall because Pilo can't handle more anxiety? Sure. You guys want to watch me play Minecraft and get stuck in a cave full of spiders? Sure. But if you want to ask me the tough questions, like what should the church look like, that's what I'm here for. And if I don't know the answer, I'll do my best to find one for you. Whether that means coming alongside someone who isn't doing well and just wants to send cat pictures back and forth, or coming alongside someone who needs support in creating a backstory for their D&D character. That is what we are here for. It is a tough walk, but we are here to help you walk it. Because we're not perfect, but we do our best to speak love and to practice that love as much as we believe it to be true. If He loves me and He created me, He loves all of you too. And yes, Solomon, that means the French as well. He also loves the French. Oh wow, Solomon's got a nice big quote for me. Let's see if I can make this work. Oh, that's a big quote. The universe is wired with the electricity of God, and each of us is a lamp. It doesn't matter the size or shape of the lamp. It only matters that the lamp is plugged in. With every prayer, every thought of forgiveness, every meditation, every act of love we plug in, the more of us who plug in, to more the darkness of the world would be cast from our midst. Today, let's all increase love's wattage. Marianne Williamson. I love that, Solomon. Yeah, a city on a hill cannot be hidden. And that's what we want to do. We want to shine a light so bright that the people around us are going, what the heck is going on over there? That is what we want to do. We want to support, we want to love, we want to encourage, and we want to grow together. We want to learn together. I'm not a big D&D person, but I'm going to learn as much as I can to help out our game masters next week and our adventurers later at the end of August. We are a group of nerds that love nerdy things and love God and love each other because of our love for Him. We find Christ in all the nerdy different things, and we share Christ. We share that love. We share that encouragement to all of those around us. The amount of encouragement that I have received from you guys is absolutely mind-blowing, and I absolutely love and appreciate all of it. It has meant the world to me. I feel awkward when I post in our prayer requests, because if I look at the history, it's a lot of me, and I feel bad that it's a lot of me. And I know that a lot of you guys would say don't feel bad. I know that a lot of you guys would say we still want to hear it, even when it's like, oh, this time I have a migraine that, could destroy an entire nation, which I definitely did last week. It's knowing that you're not alone in this walk, in this journey. No matter where you are on the planet, we do it together. And we can learn to speak love together, to watch our words, to use our power responsibly, because with great power comes great responsibility. And yes, I did use that quote in a final paper for one of my courses on ethics. I don't think it helped my grade, but I did use that at the end, because we were talking about the power of the Holy Spirit in our words, in our prayers. We've got some serious power. So this week, I want to challenge you guys and myself to be more aware of our words that we're using, more aware of our external dialogue, but also our internal. Also our thoughts. Because our thoughts are just as powerful as words. The thoughts lead to words. Thoughts lead to actions. We've got to stop it where it starts, or else how can we properly change, So this next week, be more conscious of your words and do your best to speak more love. Do your best to love on the people around you just a little bit more. And see what difference that makes, okay? Even, the people in line ahead of you at the fast food place who are ordering everything on the menu. Speak love. And see how that changes. See how the world around you changes when you use your power for good. Alright, I'm going to ask for some prayer requests. I'll wait for people to throw them in the chat. I'm very thankful that you guys have enjoyed doing Pillow Talk, that I have the ability to do it, and Mike will be in the office next week. I might be able to get him to fix the whole audio thing. I downloaded what I was supposed to, but who knows anymore. Who knows? And it's not a Mac thing. It's a Pilo doesn't understand the program thing, because it's the same across both devices. So Pilo doesn't understand the program, therefore she needs help. I will ask for prayer for camp next week. We have 3 committed game masters as of yesterday. So we've got 3 kids to speak love, light, and creativity into next week. So pray for his hand to be on next week, and pray for openings for some really good conversations with these kids. And I say kids, but they're teenagers, but I'm an old lady, so it's the kids, on my front lawn. So pray for that. Solomon will continue to pray for you. And we're also going to continue praying for Tom and his job search. It is proving to be a lot more difficult than he anticipated. So prayer for courage, and prayer that he will get a good job. Like, not just any job, a great job, a good job. Because we love Tom. And also prayers and crossing our fingers that whatever job he gets, he can still stream for us. Because we love Tom's streams. So if nobody else has any prayer requests, I will pray. God, we come before you again. I ask that what we read today would sink in, that we would chew on these words, that we would meditate on them, and that you would speak them into our lives. I pray that you would remind us the amount of power that our words have. And I pray that you would give us gentle reminders for situations in which our words could use more love, in which our actions could use more love. I pray that you would give us wisdom in these situations. And I pray that you would make yourself exceedingly obvious to all of us. God, I thank you for camp next week. I thank you for the interest. I thank you for the kids that have signed up. I ask your blessing over camp. I ask for a multitude of opportunities that we can speak love and growth into these kids' lives. And I pray that these camps would bring back a desire for D&D ministry, God. Something we've done before, and with your power, it's something we might be able to do again. I ask that we would have a good week, a safe week. I ask that you would remind us to speak love. I ask that you would be with Solomon and his family. We hate that he's so far away, God. I would be annoying the heck out of him if he was closer, showing up at the door all the time. And I pray for the community that surrounds Solomon, that they would continue to love on him, continue to surround him, and that we would continue to surround him as best we can as well. We pray for Tom and his job search, that you would open the right doors, that you would give him the right opportunities, and that he would flourish in whatever comes his way. God, I pray that you would just give us some chances this next week to spend with you. Just some quiet times where we can focus in on you. We can grow closer to you. Because our relationship can't grow if we don't try to know you. And I pray you would give us all a safe week, a good week. And I pray that by next Pillow Talk, I would have the music figured out. In your amazing name we pray. Amen. Tom shows up just at the perfect moment. Of course he does. Tom always does. We love you, Tom. And yes, a stable job. One with really good pay. So that way Tom can be rich and he can start investing more money. Enjoyed as Pilo started to pray for me. See, look at that. See, that's God moving. That's Him providing opportunities. I am going to challenge you, on top of being more mindful of your words, to reread James 3 this week. Maybe even be an overachiever and reread James 2 as well. Spend some time and really sit with it and chew the crazy steak that is in there. Because there's some seriously good things in there, guys. You just have to be willing to look for them. You have to be willing to spend the time on it. Alright guys, I'm going to let you guys go. And I'm going to go back to playing some Animal Crossing and expressing my creativity because I'm having fun with this. Also, if anybody else has a Switch and plays Animal Crossing, send me your friend code. Because I don't have any friends right now and it's kind of sad. Anywho, I love you guys. I will see you guys on Friday. By popular request, I will be playing Minecraft. And I double checked. Stray isn't available with my Game Pass. And Solomon said he can't buy it for me, so I'm not going to be playing Stray. Oops, sorry. So we'll be playing Minecraft and having some fun. It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm excited. I haven't played Minecraft in a good while. So tune in for that, for Retro Replay, Friday at noon. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or start of your day, whatever it is, wherever you are. And that you have a good day tomorrow too, no matter what the weather is outside. Alright guys, I love you. I will see you around and talk to you later. And have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Remember,